Okay.
9 o'clock, call the county board to order. Begin with the flag pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. There are a few of us today. You want to call the roll?
Commissioner Schlangen. Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Pop.
Here.
Commissioner Kapinski.
Excused.
Commissioner Heinen.
Here.
Do I need to ask for the commissioners that aren't here? Do I still typically?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, yeah, for the record, and, yeah.
Okay. Approve or amend the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I have one change. Amanda tells me that, actually, they're not quite ready to have this discussion today about the AIM site, so she asked that we could remove it for it, and she'll bring it back at a future meeting once they're ready then, yeah.
Okay, yeah. She had actually texted me.
Yeah, so if we could just remove that 905 item from today's agenda. Other than that, we had no other changes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to put under Chris Berg, Apo Grant.
Just when Chris is here?
Correct, yes, sir.
Did you say APO Grant?
Yes, Apo Grant.
Okay.
Any other changes?
Nope.
Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any other, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Open forum.
Jacob?
First we'll do the announcement. County board meetings are broadcast live and on video recorded on YouTube. Please refrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so the viewers can hear you. The county board observes the Roberts Rules of Order for its meetings, so please obtain the board's consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for open forum segment or public hearings. However, public comments on any agenda may be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today's meetings, please turn off your cell phone and turn them to vibrate. Thank you. Open forum? Nobody's back there, thank you. The consent agenda, we have items 1 through 7. Does anybody wish for any of these to be pulled for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have one question left. Number 5.
You want number 5 pulled?
Do you want it pulled, or we're not gonna discuss it unless you wanna pull it?
Just pull it
Okay,
for a second.
so then we need a motion without,
Okay. So you want me to move?
you gotta make a motion.
I make a motion that we hold number 5 on the agenda for now.
Make a motion to pull 1, or to approve 1 through 7 with the exception of number 5 being pulled.
Great.
Can you do that?
Yes.
No, make the motion.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda and hold number 5.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve consent agendas 1 through 7 with number 5 being pulled. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Commissioner Schlangen.
Commissioner Schlangen?
Okay. I'm trying to confirm with Mary that she's willing to be on yet. And she hasn't told me yes.
I think she is. Didn't we have that discussion, Monty?
I don't recall, I also attempted to contact Mary and have her
Okay.
come back. It's probably safe to assume that she's more than happy to continue serving. I know for example, our next meeting is in August, and of course she said she could attend that, so my assumption is she's very willing to continue serving.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard any
Yes,
differently.
not told me no.
Yeah.
She texted back, well, I texted to find out, and they said Mary or David. Is David also on the board?
Yeah, but,
He's from a
He's-
different district.
he's from a different district, that's not, your appointment is
No, I
Mary.
mean-
Yeah, Mary Kivy, yeah.
David Keevy? Is there David?
David Ricks represents Commissioner Kapinski's district in Sauk Rapids, and I know he definitely let me know right away he's willing.
Okay.
And Commissioner Kapinski confirmed that he's
Willing
okay
to,
with
yeah.
that reappointment, so yeah, we're good.
Okay,
So,
so I haven't heard a no from her anyway.
so we can move forward, I would think, with this to appoint her unless.
Again, my opinion is I'm sure Mary is totally comfortable continuing to serve. I think she really enjoys being on Park Commission, and I know she enjoys contributing to the community and so on, so I have no doubts about that. you know.
Yep. Okay. So now we need a motion, Beth, to.
I motion that we approve number 5.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded to approve consent agenda number 5. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. And number, Monty, for the discussion on the broadband fiber with Sartell has been pulled.
Well, you bet,
They're not
yeah.
ready for that
Time
discussion.
for Mr. Byrd.
So we'll move on to Chris. Got you up there fast today, Chris.
Yeah, very good. That's good.
Give Chris extra time.
Yeah.
I often need it. Well, the first thing on the agenda is to conduct a public hearing. And this public hearing, the purpose of this public hearing is because we are replacing the bridge structure. My files are not in the shared folder. Well, we're replacing bridge structure L50806, which is our County Road 80. It carries our County Road 80 over County Ditch 11. And I was going to bring up the plans. Okay, well, I know that we talked about this at this June 15th meeting. That's why I don't delete files until I absolutely have to. So I'll bring up the plans from the previous agenda item, just so we have. So we adopted a resolution back at the June 15th board meeting to set this public hearing and to accept the plans. And so our proposed plans are to replace the old span structure on County Road 80 with a triple line of 16 foot wide by 5 foot tall box culverts. Except that the center box culvert is actually 6 foot high, and the purpose of that is that center one will be lowered 1 foot than the other ones. And the intent of that is to allow sediment to actually build up that bottom foot, and we have a natural stream bottom. So we're trying to recreate a natural stream bottom in a man-made or human-made structure. So the idea is when we design a set of plans like this, we survey the stream downstream and upstream of the location, and we try to match the flow lines of that. So that's what we have in these sheets here. It shows the profile of the ditch. And so the intent is that we're replacing the structure, since we're putting a culvert in, we're trying to match the bottom of that culvert to the natural bottom of the stream. Then we also do a hydraulic analysis. We actually hired Erickson Engineering to do a hydraulic analysis. They have some computer models. They look at the topography, rainfall amounts in our area, and design the structure to carry enough flow for what's called the 100-year storm. And the idea is that we get this 100-year storm or a 1% chance of that amount of rainfall in 24 hours. The road will not overtop. That structure will still carry that amount of flow. That, based on that hydraulic analysis and the fact that we're matching the stream bottom, I can say that we're not negatively impacting the drainage of the ditch. We're going to still convey the same amount of water through the ditch as it was before our structure is being replaced. And because we know we can handle up to a 100-year storm event, we're not going to be restricting any flow either. So the purpose of this public hearing today is just to inform everybody, and if there was anybody here to speak, allow them to speak to this. But that's basically our staff report for this, that we're going to replace.
Okay.
We're proposing to replace this structure in County Ditch 11.
Mr. Chair. Chris, can you refresh my memory a little bit on the status of County Ditch 11 and what kind of shape that ditch is in?
Yeah, so we have identified some small blockages that we have recently addressed. There was some deadfall downstream of our structure that we just removed last week. But we don't have any active repair petitions. It's still in that group of ditches that is being looked at to do a redetermination of benefits. So it's still in that process.
But no active petitions?
No active petitions to repair it this time, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris? Otherwise, we'll proceed to the public hearing. Our public hearing today is to replace the bridge on County Road 80 across ditch number 11. The bridge number is L5806. The applicant is evidently our county engineer. So we will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the county board on this agenda? If so, please come to the podium and state your name. And are we able to be online too for this?
I can say that the public notice that was published in the newspaper did not mention online. It
Okay,
was intended
thanks.
To be in person.
So I don't see anybody here, so final call for anyone wishing to address the county board. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Was there any emails, letters, or other communications to be read into the record?
I received none.
Has the department received any comments, concerns from state agencies, cities, townships on this agenda?
I did not.
Has the department received any, no, if there was any official affected by the township, was there action taken? No.
No.
The county board will now have time for questions of the staff and discussion. As a reminder to the audience, the public hearing is now closed. If there are any questions or comments from the board before we take action on this item, now is the time. I guess I have a comment that I think, the sooner we can get at this with the conditions of the weather, probably the easier it's gonna be on our contractors. And I know it's a bid item, so it ain't gonna make any difference on that, but it would probably help our contractor out grossly if they could get it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're hearing now. It is bone dry. I was actually out there yesterday, and in my 9 years here, I'd never seen Mayhew Creek dry. It's also Mayhew Creek, so it is, it's kind of sad how dry things are out there, so.
Okay, anything else?
I think that's it, because technically at our board action on June 15th, we accepted the plans and filed the resolution to notify everybody that we are intending to do this. So if there
Okay.
was no public comment to change our opinions otherwise, I think we're still moving ahead with this, so.
So do we need a motion for this? Or I don't think so, do we?
I don't think so. I think you closed the public meeting.
And that
so.
was it. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Chris. And then moving on.
Yeah, okay, so along with this same project, today was, we were going to accept the bids we opened bids for this project. We tied the replacement of this structure with the replacement of the structure on County Road 50. So maybe I'll have to switch over to this device and project it up on the screen. So we did receive bids. We received bids from 6 contractors.
Wow.
So we were happy to see that. Unfortunately, our bids did come in higher.
You want to zoom up a little bit, Rich?
Yeah, is it one of these buttons on the?
Yeah, you can use the remote to zoom.
Oh, very good. We'll do that
I
then.
think it's a top button. There you go.
Okay, so Landwehr Construction was the lowest responsible bidder. And so what I have here before us is, this is the breakout of the County Road 80 bridge. So we're actually, there it is, almost 13% above our estimate. And really, the price overruns come in the bid items for the culvert sections themselves. So, for example, here we are, the 12 by 5 or 16 by 5 precast box culvert sections. We were estimating that they would cost about $56,000. They came in at $80,000. Likewise, for the end sections, we were estimating 30,000, they came in at 46,000. And so on.
Anything with concrete.
Yeah, so, and this is what we were hearing. We were hearing from concrete suppliers before the bid opening that there is a delay. Production is up. A lot of contractors are out working. There's some steel delays, it sounds like, in the industry. They can't get the steel to go inside of the box culverts. So I can't say that I'm surprised once we heard that when we opened bids, that bids are higher. So likewise on the County Road 50 project, it is about 7% over. And then when you tie the two projects together, we're about 11% over both of them. So about $90-some thousand over our estimate. And once again, it's coming in the concrete box culvert sections is where we're seeing the overruns. So even though that they came in higher than our estimate, I'm still recommending to the board that we award a construction contract. I talked to the contractor actually last night. They can still get materials, but it's going to be November 1st before they're anticipated to be delivered to the project site. And there's two precast suppliers in our state really that supply this project. One supplier was not even telling contractors the dates. They don't know when their production will catch up to their demand. And the other one is saying October, November, and this is what our contractor confirmed, that they said November 1st before they could get pipe sections. So the earlier comment about now's the time to do it, I completely agree. The problem is they don't think they can get materials. So the reason I say that is I'm recommending that we go ahead and award this. Couple reasons, because even if we were to re-let it, it's just going to delay it that much more. I mean, we're talking, we're 5-6 months out before getting materials. We re-let it, we're still going to be 5 or 6 months out, I think, before we get materials, and that puts us into spring, which hopefully we're getting rain again. The second reason is, if you recall, a big chunk of these projects were being funded by the state bridge grant. About 75 to 80% of it was almost being funded by the state bridge grant. The other portion, our local share, was being paid for by the sales tax. So those two things considered, I would still recommend awarding the construction contract to Landwehr Construction as being the lowest responsible bidder, even though they were above our estimate.
Commissioner Heinen?
Mr. Chair. So Chris, what does that do for a startup date for construction?
It would look like end of October, November. So,
For both projects or just?
yeah, both projects. The problem is County Road 80, if you recall, it's a paved road today. Most likely it'll stay gravel over the winter because that's too late in the year usually to get blacktop back down on the roads.
Which is not a bad thing though either.
Yeah, we can let that
Correct.
settle over the
I
winter.
think that's probably good for that road.
Mr. Chair, Chris, how long the projects are these again, barring a weather issue?
So once we get the materials, it's a couple weeks process. I mean, they can get the old structures out of there maybe in a day and a half, 2 or 3 days to get the new box culvert set, and then a couple days after that, backfilling it and grading it. So.
And is it their intent to start on both at the same time, or are we gonna prioritize, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah, I think we'll tell them start on both of them at the same time. As soon as you get material, start putting them in the ground.
Okay.
I know the gravel 51 is a concern for farming, so it would be nice to have that before. It doesn't look like we'll make it before harvest, but before planting season next year, certainly. Mm-hmm. So
Is there a chance, Chris, that they would come earlier than November 1st?
it could be for some reason if there's a same size box culvert sections that were going for another project that they canceled or they delayed, and that supplier has them on hand. Possibly it could happen sooner.
And when you're
No
looking at
guarantees,
this
though.
time frame, they pretty much know what they're gonna manufacture between now and then.
Yeah.
How long do we have to spend the bridge replacement grants?
We've got a number of years, so
Okay.
that isn't a concern. I mean, if for some reason we decided today not to award it and we do this all again next year, I don't think there's any harm in that. I'm afraid that we need to get in line for our materials. If we're not, we're gonna get pushed to the back of the line and then be out that much longer.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Chris, any concerns or worries about frost?
No, actually, Landwehr Construction back in 2014 put a box culvert in for us in the dead of winter there by Ronabee, Cassaw 6. It was cold. I think the highs were around 0. So, especially if we're not in a hurry to pave it, if we're okay with letting it sit for a few months after that, no concerns there. So that could be something that happens. Yeah, we're still in the middle of winter trying to place these. That doesn't concern me.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to award a contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Landwehr Construction, based on Chris's information he gave us today, and move ahead with County 50 and County 80's bridges.
I'll second.
Motion been made and second to award the contracts for the 2 bridges. Anybody have any other discussion?
Just get it done.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, very good. Was there, we want to talk about that?
Yes.
So, okay.
That one was the APO grant.
Right.
Yeah, so recently, the APO put out notice of solicitation for planning grant dollars. Every year, the APO gets kind of an allotment of federal money that has to be used for planning. And that's something to keep in mind too. So it's federal money that you're using for engineering planning. I would like to use that if we're successful, apply for that and use it to study our Mayhew Lake Road, which is CASA 1, from Highway 23 all the way up to CASA 29. Earlier this year, this spring, I think school was still in session. I was on a conference call with school representatives, city representatives. I think Sheriff Heck was on that call. There's been some concerns with the entrances off of Mayhew Lake Road into the high school. I guess there's been a lot of near misses. There was a severe accident maybe last year as well. And so I think that these planning dollars could be used to study, those kind of intersections. But I think I would also like to extend it all the way down to Highway 23. We're seeing some development start to occur. The city did recently just approve multifamily housing unit off of Mayhew Lake Road. I understand the access to that is not coming off of Mayhew Lake Road, but that was a request, could they have direct access? And as that road continues to build up, it's already a busy road for us today. I would just like some planning and maybe some guidance to see what we could do in the future. CASA 1 continues north of Sauk Rapids, and it eventually becomes our County Road 78. And as you recall, we've reconstructed County Road 78 all the way to Morrison County. So it's a straight shot, if you will, all the way into Sauk Rapids from north of our county. Mayhew Lake Road is also functionally classified as a minor arterial, and that's the highest functional classification of any of our roads. Higher classification would be a principal arterial, like Highway 23 is, or an interstate route. Those would be the only 2 functional classifications. And that matters in federal dollars, and applying for and receiving federal dollars is the functional classification. But I guess my point of that is, that's the highest functional classification of any of our roads. So it's meant to carry a higher volume of traffic and connect regional centers and communities. So we all hope that Sauk Rapids continues to grow and develop, which means we're going to see increased traffic on Mayhew Lake Road. Where is the best possible location to put accesses and entrances, and what should be the intersection treatment, as we often call them? Is that roundabouts? Is that traffic signals? Is it partial access where you make right in and right outs only? And that's what I'm hoping, that if we were successful in getting these planning grant dollars, we could hire a consultant to look at that corridor and help forecast for us and provide some guidance in the future on possible intersection treatments. So the application was due last week, and I submitted that. It's up to $80,000 of federal planning dollars. Then you have to have a local match. A local match of 20% could put it to a total project cost of $100,000. So at this point, I honestly don't know how much that would cost, but I did apply for the maximum we could. And so there would be a local match of $20,000. I had reached out to the city of Sauk Rapids to see if they would be interested in participating cost-wise in that local match. So I threw out there a 50-50 split of that local match, meaning $10,000 from them, $10,000 from us. And that's kind of where we're at now. We haven't heard back whether we're successful. That grant, and if any of the other entities in the APO applied for that, would have to go to the APO policy board to approve who and how much would get that grant.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I brought this forward today because Commissioner Gopinski and myself are getting a lot of heat with the city and the school about that whole road corridor system of how to lower the traffic, what needs to be done, especially between Lake Station and County Road 29 because of the accidents and near misses with the students going in and out. Another issue is, of course, you brought it up, Chris, with the multifamily housing project, plus that the new industrial park, they're getting a new tenant in there.
oh, good.
And they hope to, revise that new system, and that's gonna create an issue too, at that intersection too. I'm just wondering, and the question was, as I talked to you this morning, when does our policy change on something like this road, when we're having so much buildup by the city of Sauk Rapids in this area,
And that's what I don't have good answers. I'm hoping
Right.
a study would help us point this in the right direction. That you brought up some good points. It's kind of a mixed use area. We've got residential, we have school, we have industrial,
Church.
right next to each other. So we want to be able to build transportation features that serve all of those and serve all of them safely and efficiently. So you're right. That's what I'm hoping is that we can hire a consultant to kind of look at the land use and say, full build out, what is the potential traffic volumes and the trips being generated and the types of trips, and then how's the best way to handle that traffic through that area. So, and that's why I think with the industrial park there, I think it's important to kind of look at the connection to Highway 23, because Highway 23 is connecting outside of our county as well and outside of our region really. So if we want to be able to bring that traffic into our industrial parks, I think it's worth looking at that as well.
So, Chris, will that include up to and including the intersection at 29?
Yeah, I think we could, yeah. do So-
That would be, that would be my theory is, because there's many times I've been going on that intersection and it's, and I go there once a week maybe. And there's always cars turning, there's always cars trying to go around somebody.
Sure.
I think that's just, there's an accident waiting to be happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, Mr. Chair, I avoid that intersection because of that.
Yeah, I can avoid it if I wanna go to Mimbach.
It's
Mr.
not
Chair,
really-
Chris, just quick question, and I realize it's not big dollars, but with the local match, where do those funds come from?
That's a good point. We'll talk about that in my budget presentation. Right now, I put it in there under Levy. So we'll have to look at that and see if there's Levy or if there's some other place. That's where my initial spot was to put it.
Okay.
If we were successful, my intentions would be this fall to put together a little project management team that could include, a member of the board, maybe somebody from the city council. Myself would be on that, maybe a staff person from the city of Sauk Rapids. And then we would put together an RFP, request for proposals. And then we could get specific about what we want that successful consultant to look at and mention. Consider the Casal 29 intersection, consider the Osaka Road and the school access and those kind of things. And then kind of build our RFP for what we're hoping to achieve from this. And then select a consultant and hopefully they start work next year. But once again, hopefully we're successful with the grant dollars first.
Right.
Mr. Chair, actually, Chris, you answered some of my question, next year, but next year in the spring probably, while school is still on.
Yeah, I would say,
it's very
well-
important that it is done when the school is still in progress.
Sure. So it's interesting because it's federal dollars. That could be good and bad. The federal fiscal year starts October 1st. If we're successful, theoretically, we could probably start expending those funds as soon as the new federal fiscal year. I'm not positive on that. So it just comes down to probably cash flow and budget at that point. If we can turn the consultant loose sooner, I think we certainly would. And that's the benefit of hiring a consultant. A big part of a study like this would be data collection. We just don't have the staff and resources to devote time to collecting data. And that means traffic counts. Sometimes that means having a person sit out there and document how many people are making left turns, how many people are making right turns, how many people are making through movements. Those are the kind of things it's hard to capture in a tube counter and not sometimes result at somebody physically sitting at the intersection and just tracking that. And so that's what we would need a consultant for, is big part of that is doing that data collection. And so those could certainly happen. Certainly we'd want those during school when we see those big traffic volumes in the afternoons, so.
And if we're successful, you would have control of when it's done and that, right?
Yeah, once again, we would put that right in the RFP, that we want it to be completed by this date. And the report completed by this date as well, so.
So since Chris already applied, we probably need some kind of a motion to go forward or to approve that.
Well, at this point, I think we're okay. We'll just wait to hear back from the APO.
Okay,
Couple things, we could get approved for all of it, we could get approved for some of the money, or we could be denied. So I think at this point, we'll just wait to see if there's anything required from the APO, and then I'll certainly bring that back to the board at that
and then
time.
you'll keep Commissioner Kapinski updated as APO.
Yeah, because he's our representative on the
Yep.
policy board, so,
Yep.
yeah. I want him to vote for it.
Right, and the
Mr.
good,
Chair?
Mr. Chair, the good thing is that we got Commissioner Gopinski on there, we've got two, Sauk Rapids people on there, Mr. Schultz, and a council member on there too.
Okay.
So we've got good reputation
Right.
for that area.
Commissioner Schlangen?
I traveled the south end quite a bit, and I would say, well, we got the Joy Christian Center over there with traffic coming in and out. On the top of the hill, the lighting is really bad to go to the one down into St. Cloud.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely needs a study.
You're right, that's been talked about for a number of years. The one where you got two county roads coming in on the hill and it's a curve and, yeah.
And the lighting's poor.
Yeah, I understand. I agree with you there, so.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, Chris.
thanks,
We're
Chris.
good, that's all I have.
You wanna update us on anything how we're doing?
I could, yeah. Well, we even talked about County Road 55. It's essentially complete. They should be dressing up the topsoil today and mulching in. We need to stabilize that due to our stormwater permit. We need to get that ground stabilized. The problem is we don't have a lot of hope for seed germinating anytime soon. As we've talked about numerous times, it's really sandy. It's drier than dry out there. So we're going to get it mulched to stabilize the soil, and then probably come back and seed it with permanent seed a little bit later when we start getting some moisture again. And then they'll stripe it. So it doesn't have permanent lane striping on it yet. That still needs to be done. But the road is paved, and I encourage anybody to go up there and take a look at that. It feels like a brand new road, even though we didn't do a subcut and everything. With the white shoulders on there, you can really feel the additional width just driving up there.
Chris, when we stripe that, are we gonna use rumble strips and all on the side?
I do not believe we're putting rumble strips on this one, so I cannot
Yeah, I
recall
guess-
for certain. But
You know, we know there's gonna be bike traffic on there.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that would be a good idea or not.
that probably would be a good idea. Yeah, just to notify drivers and pedestrians if somebody's starting to cross that white line. That's
Yeah,
the purpose
I
of
don't
the
know.
rumble strip. So, yeah, that's something we can certainly look into.
And
maybe.
look into it to see if it's necessary or not.
And I apologize, I can't recall. I don't think we're putting it on there. A lot of times those are good options for federal highway safety improvement grants that they like putting those rumble strips in. It's something that if we don't get it on this project now, we can apply for a federal grant to put those in later. So,
Mr. Chair, with that conversation, I apologize, Chris, I just assumed all of our roads had rumble strips in them.
yeah.
I didn't realize that we pick and choose.
Well,
Contrary to what you do, I really don't like them on roads that I travel with my equipment.
you know what? They're an interesting thing. They're good and bad, especially in residential areas. Yeah, people don't like listening to the rumbles.
Yeah.
But then you can make the argument. Well, in residential areas, that's where you have the higher potential for pedestrians and bicyclists trying to use the shoulders as well. So it's kind of a trade-off. So you're right. We don't have them on every road. So
Okay,
Interesting.
all right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
thank you.
At this point, we'll reassess the we're good. The regular board meeting to conduct human services, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Heinen.
We'll call the Human Services Board meeting to order. Approve or amend the agenda. First, I want to let everybody know that under consent, we have 1 and 2, but number 2 will be a regular agenda item. So with that, is there any changes? to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll, motion for approval of the agenda, with consent agenda item number 1 only, and move item number 2 into the regular agenda.
Okay, we've got a motion.
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion on that? I brought that to your awareness because in our packet, it does say it's on the regular agenda, number 2. So with that, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Consent agenda item 1. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Number 2, regular agenda. Bob.
That's a curveball.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sandy.
Oh, no, actually, we had discussed this in the COW on June 7th, the importance of us putting some resources toward the homeless population in St. Cloud. So, as you can see, page 2 in the presentation is the spreadsheet that shows the funds that we have available to cover this. And that was per the board recommendation that we show that we can actually cover this position for the rest of this year. And then, as you can see, we have more than enough just because we had some things that didn't get done like they normally would due to COVID. So we had 142,000 extra. And we have quite a bit more than that, but this was just the 2 areas that we pulled just to show that we have the funds to be able to cover this social worker position for homelessness. So,
Mr. Chair, Bob, just a quick question in regards to the breakdown of the dollars. You have training and mileage there. Are those mileage dollars able to be crossed over to training dollars? I
Yes.
mean, you can use those dollars however you'd like.
Yes,
They
we
don't.
can.
They do not have to be mileage.
that is correct.
Okay.
Bob, I've got some questions and I'd rather run them towards Sandy, please.
That's fine.
If you don't mind, Bob.
Not a problem.
So, thank you, Sandy. I've got a couple questions. First of all, how close do you think we are in conjunction with working with the tri-county area on this solution?
Well, I think as far as you're talking about the homeless outreach worker
Yeah.
or the bigger planning, there's 2 different things.
There's 2
So-
questions.
So the homeless outreach worker, I think we're really close. So Sherburne either just hired or is in the process of hiring a homeless outreach worker, and Stearns has their 3. We have been in conversation, we haven't worked out all exact details, but our conversation is that the 3 of us would try to act together, and I think I've talked to the board about that before. So we have an agreement between us that we will work together as a team to work with the homeless. So as they cross the county borders, they don't have to switch homeless outreach workers. We're going to try to work that together. So I think that is pretty solid. We have to work out getting a release together and some of those little details. But I think we're pretty solid about how that would work. The bigger issue about, at one point we talked about trying to get the 3 counties together along with the city to talk about, and the other providers to talk about that. We're not as close to that. Commissioner Heinen and I attended a meeting with the city, task force meeting on the homeless last week. Stearns and Sherburne were both represented there as well. They haven't had task force on the homeless since 2004. At that time, there was a Stearns County commissioner on there and Stearns County staff, but nobody from Benton or Sherburne counties was on that task force. So this year, we were invited to attend. And so the purpose of that meeting is to look at what the role of the city of St. Cloud is, the city's role with the homeless. And I think one of the things that could come out of that is a suggestion that the 3 counties and the local city governments together form something together, not just the city of St. Cloud. The city of St. Cloud says some of the other cities have maybe been reluctant to join in this project. But I think that that would be one of the things we would bring up as a suggestion in this task force, that there be a bigger effort to work on this. Commissioner Heine, do you have things to add about that?
I think tomorrow will be more informal, get more information of what the city believes. And hopefully the other 2 counties will join in with a little more conversation about how we can get together to actually make this work.
And I'm hoping tomorrow we will address the zoning issues, and which has been my question all along. So I did have some conversations after that meeting with a few people, but it'll be interesting to see. We did ask that tomorrow they address the zoning issues. Where exactly are the compassion areas, they call it, where they have zoned where the housing shelters can be? So we need to understand that and why those were chosen and if those are still appropriate. So that's a bigger issue. As far as the homeless worker, I think we're working on how we would coordinate that with the other counties. The bigger piece has a ways to go.
So my next question is do we need this position now?
Well, I believe we do. We did have a worker in place through contract with a grant through Catholic Charities that ended in May. I'm getting a lot of phone calls, our agency's getting a lot of phone calls about the homeless that are out there. But it is the board's discretion whether or not we need them. It's not winter time, so people aren't freezing, they're not losing fingers and toes. But we'd like to get them housing before that happens. Lincoln Center is full. I mean, we have a lot of camps starting to rise up again. So in my opinion, yes, for the good of our community and for those homeless individuals, yes, we do need it now. But it's the board's decision. It's not a mandated service.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I could, Sandy. So just to kind of continue on with Commissioner Heinen's question, what would you see a delay to potentially mid-August on this decision due to your thoughts, your process here? Yeah, excuse me, and the reason I bring that up is, for me, I haven't even seen a budget yet. And so we've got budget meetings coming up the week of the 9th of August. And so I certainly was involved in the COW in June, and I understand that, and I think there was general agreement on that. But for me, I haven't even seen a budget yet, and to start adding positions at this time of year, personally, I have a hard time with that, just because I haven't seen the big picture at all yet. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily opposed, but I don't have all the information in front of me yet. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from, and what I'm asking you is the importance of this today.
And I don't exactly know how to answer that, other than that if we wait until August, we won't get anybody hired until, if that's approved in August, we won't have anybody hired due to our process.
Yep.
October, November, somebody be on board, train. So we're heading into winter weather. So that would be part of the urgency. And we do have these people in those homeless camps that, my son lives in Benton County he just moved last week, but up until then, he lives in Benton County on the edge of St. Cloud. And there's, he's a young family in an apartment building with homeless people living in tents out in the woods behind him. And that's just comforting for him as well. That's just a personal note. But I think there are other people in the community, they do have tents along the river, underneath the bridges, along the river. I mean, there are various places they are. But it's not any different, perhaps, than last year. It's just that there's more of them, and there's more attention to them. Bob, do you have something to add to that?
I would probably add that we could certainly add this piece on as far as a policy request for January 1st, but I think this is 2021 budget that we're using currently. And we probably could even earmark some of that for the next year or a period of time. We do have it in our fund balance to be able to do that. So I think that it's a situation where we would rather get this person started right away. The other piece is that with this committee that Sandy is on right now in St. Cloud, we wanted to have a worker in there as well to be able to participate in that. So I think it's important for us to get started sooner than later, but I understand what you're asking as well. It's kind of a tricky situation.
Commissioner Pop?
So will this person be the same as what the three in Stearns and the one in Sherburne? There'll be a homeless outreach person. I think this was the intent when we went with this, is that there'll be, I don't like the part where it says be a social worker, because that seems too broad to me. I mean, if we're gonna do this has to be a specific deal,
Yes.
and that.
Yeah, so the intent is that the social worker is the classification of the
Right, I
position.
know that, but that wasn't when we discussed it. That wasn't how it came across.
Well, it would be to be a homeless outreach worker. So it wouldn't be to be, I don't think, doing other duties other than some of those connected to the homeless outreach. Is that correct?
No. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think that the classification level would be at a supervisor, but their title would be.
Social worker. Social
Yes.
worker.
I'm sorry, yes. But as far as the actual position, it would be dedicated fully and completely to homelessness.
Okay, cause you know where I stand, where it's like Stearns County's 3 times the population we are, they have 3, we have 1, and that's all I think we need to have at this point in time. And same with Sherburne, you know, and I know it's a small part of Sherburne, that's in, you know, in this area that we're looking at, so I don't wanna see us come for another position, you know, in the budget process going forward when we hire this one.
Well, I wasn't suggesting another position, I was suggesting it as far as this would take care of, the budget that you see here would take care
Right,
of
but I
this
mean,
year.
as we go forward to next year's budget, I don't expect us to see, we're gonna put another person in the homeless outreach or something like that. That
We've
would be
already, during the cow, I think that it was mentioned that we
Yeah.
are one.
one, yeah.
So, yeah, I
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, Bob, I think I understood you say that with these dollars, they can be carried forward into the next year.
Yeah, and we're adding to our fund balance a
Okay.
significant amount. So I think that as far as I'm concerned, that's something that we've already turned into Monty, but I think as far as being able to access our fund balance, I think that's in play, isn't it, Monty?
Well, I guess it's true. So because, you know, social workers aren't traveling as much as they normally do, people aren't going to.
People
aren't going to.
conferences as much as they normally do. Right, we're seeing substantial savings in our mileage and travel and training budgets, of course. But at some point, that's gonna come back to more of a normal
Correct.
level. So these are essentially one-time savings that's paying for a permanent position. So it's true, right, those dollars will go into fund balance. This is my first comment, again, it's one-time savings paying for a permanent position. And I think just too generally speaking philosophically, I think it's ideal that when you have requests for positions, they're all considered at the same time, under the same set of circumstances. In other words, they're all competing for scarce resources at the same time.
Right.
And I think that allows you then to see the bigger picture of, okay, what are the overall needs of the county? And how do they shake out in terms of your priorities? Because you're gonna see requests for about 7 or 8 positions when you get your budget books. And you could then ask yourself the question, well, is this one the most important that we fund? And you've got 7 others that are there too. Should you fund those? So when you do this in isolation, you can't really ask that question. Which one is the most important to us as a county when you consider them individually? So my personal advice is consider this as part of the larger budget, and then you can weigh all the priorities that you have countywide. That's my advice.
Commissioner Pop?
Well, they appropriated money to homeless in the state legislature, the last deal, I don't know how many dollars, is that, any of that gonna be available to us?
I believe, go ahead.
I believe that the money isn't available until January of 2023.
And then it's
Oh.
for kids.
It's for
It's for
youth.
kids, yeah.
So it's some young adults, but it's not for the majority of the people
So
we see.
it wouldn't help the majority of what we see.
No, it could partially fund this position perhaps in 2023 for, yes, correct. It's a lot of money, but it's for a small portion of the population that actually is out there, very small.
Mr. Chair, Sandy and Bob, just to clarify again, when I'm looking at this request for this position, it's talking about in 2021, there's a 16% reimbursement plus unspent funds, fund balance. Okay, 2022, 16% reimbursements plus levy.
Yes.
So there's no fund balance available for 2022.
We're looking at, there's some things that we're working on that we're gonna be able to hopefully get some reimbursement. One of the things that we're looking at doing is working under the public health guys for a percentage of this position. We're actually hoping for 50%, because one of the areas that we have is public health. One of their core functions is the mental health piece. So we should be able to put some dollars under that. But then we also can look at the mental health piece. Just about everybody that's homeless has dual diagnoses in that oftentimes it's mental health issues. So that's one of the areas that we're gonna look at doing. So we're gonna continue to look at funding versus levy. But as of right now, at this point in time, we have the funds, and it would be up to us to find funding for that going forward.
I'll just say, I know we need one person out there sitting in with this conversations with Sandy at these task force meetings and tomorrow. I do know we need a position for this. My question is, do we put that in when we have a mutual agreement between all three counties? Can it wait till then for that position? So if we can get Sherburne, Stearns, and us on board as a three-county area to help serve the homelessness together, Stearns has 3, Sherburne has 1, and we have 1, can it wait until we form that agreement?
For the social work position, I don't know that we would need a formal agreement. It's something we can do to work together without a contract, if that makes sense. It's an agreement we already have to work together. It's just a matter of working out releases and that type of thing. It's different when we're talking about the bigger group,
Right.
the bigger organizations, however. I think that we would be ready to go once I know that we have a position for the social worker without a formal agreement. If that helps, unless you think we need one, but I think we have an agreement to work together.
Who is doing it right now? Is there anybody in social services out there right now?
I have one worker who spends a couple hours a week with the CBAT team, the BAT team, but she has a full-time mental health caseload. So they're calling us and we are answering some questions, but we really have nobody. We also get a lot of vulnerable adult reports on some of these homeless individuals. So on occasion, it rises to a level of a vulnerable adult assessment through Deb's unit, because some of these people are in such dire needs that it ends up coming to our attention and we go in getting guardians and doing that type of thing. But really, we just have no availability with our mandated caseloads to go out there. So.
Mr. Chair, Sandy, you did say though that it is not required.
Correct. It is not a mandated service, like child protection,
Yep.
mental health case management. It is not.
I do know we're getting the pressure put on us, but the question is, can we wait, Can we wait until the budget process?
I'll just add one more comment, and that is, I've spent the last few weeks working on the base budget for you all, and you're gonna get the largest base budget increase I've seen in a decade. So I guess I'd urge a little caution in making commitments about positions until, thinking about what Commissioner Johnson just said, until you see the bigger picture. So again, it's just, we're seeing cost increases, we're seeing the effects of the class comp study. It's actually, it's double the base budget increase that we had last year. So you might want to size things up maybe before making commitments that are going to increase your levy costs next year. I understand it's important, it's critical, and you're going to hear many other critical needs too from other departments. So,
Mr. Chair, if I could, and I'd like to start this motion out with, I'm not necessarily opposed at this point, but I'd like to table this until our August 17th meeting after budget time to bring back for discussion and possible action.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Now
Further discussion?
I don't know if that date is quite, will be long enough for us to have a decision, because usually we go through the base budget, we come back in September and decide, kind of like, okay, this is gonna go, this ain't gonna go, before we, right, Monty?
that's typically works, right?
Yeah.
Once you complete your budget presentations, you usually have 1 or 2 work sessions.
Right.
And then make some decisions, and then we're slated for proposed budget and levy adoption September 28th, I believe it is, yeah. So sometime between, the last budget meeting, the week of August 9th, and then September 28th, you'll have a couple of work sessions.
And that's when we discuss,
Yeah.
this will go, this won't go, this is gonna be
Yeah.
cut,
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, at this point, is it appropriate to leave that date and we can extend it again if we need to?
Yeah, we could do that. We could go ahead
I
and,
mean, if we're not prepared to have a further discussion on the
We'll
seventeenth,
just table it again.
Table it again.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
that
agree
can
to
be
that.
done.
That'd be okay, Commissioner Pop?
Yep, I'll agree to that one.
Okay, so we had a motion, a second to table this till August 17th meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
And Bob, Bob, anything else?
I don't have anything else. If there's any questions about any other topics.
I have none.
Last one.
Commissioner Schlangen, go ahead.
With the Lincoln Center, is it going 24 hours or is it still at the day?
It's 24 hours.
It's going 24. What about the other center?
I understand they're 24 hours a day, but I have not heard from them. They haven't spoken to any of my staff since the city council meeting.
That is something we can probably bring up tomorrow too in that task force meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this point in time, we're adjourned. Turn it back over to Mr. Chair. Regular board meeting.
Reconvene the regular board meeting and county administrator has an item.
Okay. Let's mark Sean. Alrighty. Well, I believe Governor Walz has declared July 27th of this year as County Staff Appreciation Day. And AMC is urging all of its member counties to acknowledge that date and do some things to celebrate it. They provided this draft resolution for our consideration. And as you look through it, definitely it acknowledges all the things that county employees did during the course of the pandemic. Of course, as you know very well, virtually every county every county department continued to function more or less as normal during the pandemic. There was a few small disruptions here and there, but the doors generally stayed open and services continued, and especially to those employees that had that direct contact with the public, sheriff's office, jail, they didn't skip a beat there. They continued doing the work that they needed to do. So I think this definitely acknowledges all the work that they did during the pandemic. I should also, of course, mention public health and all the enormous pressures that were placed upon public health during the past year. The clinics and so on, the education outreach efforts that they've done. So in recognition of that, this proclamation recognizes July 7th as County Staff Appreciation Day. And I should maybe let the cat out of the bag. The board's going to have a luncheon on this day, which we will announce to everyone tomorrow. The board is graciously going to treat us all to lunch on the 27th. And again, we'll get that news out sometime tomorrow. So.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Monty, that is correct. The commissioners will be putting on a cookout and paying for it themselves, and it will not be coming out of any public funds.
That's a great gesture. Thank you very much. That's right, a board member expense. Thank you. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution proclaiming July 27th, 21 as County Staff Appreciation Day.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to adopt July 27th as County Staff Appreciation Day. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, thanks a lot. Next is the proposal from Better Johnson, and it should just maybe go back a little bit. Back on June 16th, there was a committee of the whole, and of course, you brought in all of the department heads and other folks, and you heard you got their input on what they see as our space needs. And near the end of that committee of the whole, there was a consensus direction that I was given to do a couple things. One was to find out the asking prices on a couple of parcels of land here in town. I do have those now. It would be best if I would share those with you in a closed session of the county board, which you can do under the closed session law. So I'm thinking possibly the next board meeting, I have a closed session and share with you what I've learned from those two property owners. The second piece of direction was to get a proposal from Better Johnson on looking at building options for the old Public Works building site. I did share with Vetter Johnson that we're considering these two other parcels. So what they did is they gave you a proposal, which basically it's based upon just an hourly rate, and it give them a flexibility, frankly, to look at any site that you choose to look at, not just this one. So if you want to look at these two other sites as possible building locations, you certainly could under this proposal that they have given you. So that's really what it does. It's fairly brief. It just says, okay, we're at your disposal to look at various options. Here's our hourly rates. And they, of course, will await any further direction from the county board. So what I was kind of thinking is once we have this closed session, talk about these two parcels, I guess then some decisions can be made. Are we serious about which site are we serious about? And do we want then better to move forward with looking at options and cost estimates and so on? Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what this does for us.
Right, and then, I mean, we have to develop some steps on what we wanna do and when we wanna do it, and.
Break this thing apart. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Step by step.
So we don't really need any action on this today, then?
Well, you know, I
Or do you want the hourly
at this
rate?
point, probably not. You know, I would say what I would do is we'll have the closed session next board meeting. And then at that point, I guess then you can decide, do you want to move forward then with this next step and ask Vetter to begin work? Probably, my suggestion is you probably want to get Vetter back up here to be with you all in person and then understand very clearly what sites do you want to look at and what configurations. In other words, you know, what functions would you want? Because that has a huge course determinant on what kind of building you're going to build. So I think they really need to hear from you all.
Okay.
You know, what's your vision for this possible location if we in fact go down that route? And I should say that's the big if. I'm not assuming that's the case. It's a big if. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really see. I just want you to see this. Let you know I'd followed through on that. And again, we can bring it back at your next meeting after that closed session.
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Monty.
Okay. Then we'll move on to commissioner meeting updates.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, I'll start.
All right.
Mine's gonna be short and sweet. We've had multiple broadband committee meetings, City of Foley, the county attorney, City of Foley's attorney. And I can say that things are progressing forward, hopefully fairly rapidly. I believe, Monty, we're gonna at some point need to talk about a special meeting.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah, I had a note for on that one.
And so I don't,
Yep.
once we get to that point, we're gonna need a special meeting with this board to consider a resolution with the City of Foley, so.
Yeah.
That's really all I have. I've only been involved in the broadband committee in the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Steve, Commissioner Schlangen,
I've had a few. I listened in on the Council on Foreign Relations Zoom that they had. And they are dealing with immigration and what directions they're wanting to go and problems they're seeing. Job impact. They look at the more people they have, the more jobs they can create. But they need to have some kind of a handle on how they're handling the immigrants and so that there's not a safety problem. And just in general, how to deal with the crisis. Right now, the laws we have on the books and are not being, they don't follow as the book, they're making things as they go along. And one other thing they talked about was looking at America is a place, when immigrants come, they don't change America. They came here because they want to change to be more like America, not to change America. And then I was at the open house for the Momentum Treatment Center, and Jared was there too. They're have 3 floors with apartments to help people with their addictions and problems, and so it looks like that's gonna be a good asset on the east side of St. Cloud. RSVP is working on their budgets. I got the notice about the Foley Cares doing lunches. That they're serving brats from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Through mid-August. I went to the Career One VIP Day and had the tour of the center over at the VOTEC, Vocational College, and they have like 150 students they're working with this summer. That's going pretty good. The Council on Aging's working on their funding projects. Then I went to the Association of Minnesota Counties for the new commissioners. So I spent 3 days there last week.
How'd that go?
I brought projects along to work on, thinking I'd have some time. I was just exhausted after the days and relaxed. Yeah, full of information.
Good.
Met lots of people. Mike Harvey went too.
Mike Harvey was there?
Yep.
All 3 days?
Really?
Yep, he stayed with relatives.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yep. Okay, is that it?
Huh?
That it?
I think
Steve?
that's it.
Okay. I did too join in on the Momentum opening. Actually, I was the first one in the door. I came right away, so
Okay.
got the tour and all that. It's pretty interesting. I also did do the Career One VIP Day and had a lot of conversation with, I'm gonna get these names pronounced wrong, so Jacob, you will do it correctly for me.
Sounds good.
You know, Wallamot,
Wolgamott?
oh my God, yeah, okay. And Shane
Mecklin?
Mecklin, thank you.
Gotcha.
Were there and we had lively discussions
Okay.
with both of them. They all took their turns with me, at me, however it was, but
Okay.
good discussion on that day, on that one. Where else? Oh, I had criminal justice meeting. Right now, they have over 55, 10 females, 36 males. They did not hire an STS crew leader yet. Deb Anderson from DOC didn't have much to talk about. Court administration, with the mask mandate lifted July 6th, no masks are required in a court building now. One set of orders issued, it was sent out, then the current order does go through September 6th. They're still just trying to do major criminal cases right now in person and trying to do all the other stuff on Zoom and everything else. And that'll change in September. And then Troy talked about the CAT team. So our next meeting, they're gonna have representatives from CentraCare there to talk about the CAT team. So, and that's, I've had a lot of meetings with the city and discussions with the APO grant and all of that, and trying to get them on board, and I will not speak for them, but I do believe it's positive of helping them fund,
Okay.
you know, that, so.
On the STS crews, are they gonna get them going this year, or are they gonna?
Well, it depends when they get somebody hired. So right now they have,
I've had calls from several entities that are wondering about it.
yeah, so they'll be starting it again when they finally hire somebody.
Okay. All right. So I just had a couple, me and Jared were on for the MICA meeting. They did a follow-up on the special session, and when they got the budget finally passed, and it was 44 pages of analyzing what happened in the state legislature. So you read all of them, you were pretty good. $1.7 billion surplus, 94% more spending or 9.4% more spending in fiscal 2021 than there was in fiscal 2020. That's where they had the 20 million starting in 2023 for the homeless. They said they'll look in the packet for that. And then they did, one of the biggest discussions we had was, what would you say, surplus pay for frontline workers. And that was all over the board from county participation. You could tell which counties were a little more in favor of it and which counties definitely were not going down that route. So it seemed like, what we heard is that maybe more of the metro counties were more in favor of it than what, I didn't hear anything positive come out of I think there was a little bit came out of Olmsted County, but Blue Earth and Waseca and some of them just weren't in favor about talking about that.
This is using your ARPA funds.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
It's called
Hazard
duty
pay, yeah.
Premium, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a long discussion, and I think there was more opposed to it than what there was actually for it when it got done. Transportation, they said that this was the biggest bridge bonding they went to 30 million from 14 million. What was approved through the state legislator?
We did get there, I thought we only got 14 million. Oh,
Well, I think 14 million went to the outstate, but
okay.
30 million total, and before it was like 14 million divided up. So they said that was the biggest, you can see it online on Micah's or Mr. Novak, if you need to get a hold of him. They did try to have an in-person meeting. It was down in Dakota County. They had 3 people show up, so. And it was the Washington County Commissioner, the Scott County Commissioner, the counties that were right next door. I did call Commissioner Kopinski and ask him if he wanted to venture down there, and he said no, that was okay. So we met, we're doing virtual, and now they're gonna be virtual until the October meeting. The August and September meetings are gonna be, and then they're not gonna have a meeting in October, and then go forward after that. It sounds like they're hoping we can be back at the the Capitol Ridge, Best Western, and by the Capitol when that goes. So that was all. And then on the 15th, I was asked to meet with the Sherburne County Board. They had a work session for the Extension Committee is looking at maybe bringing them into our Tri-County deal. So I went down, the Regional Director, Lori Vecchi, and myself, we presented to them. We were supposed to be there at 11:30. They were in labor negotiations. Ran till 1:30, so we sat there for 2 hours waiting. I don't know how they perceived it. It's going to cost them the exact same amount that Benton County's going to put into it. They looked at. She had a presentation on the crops and the livestock situation. Our horticulture is really big in Sherburne County. Probably don't need anybody that. They discussed what this position would be, because virtually we'll go from 3 to 4 and then have 4 counties. Some of the discussion was around, is the University of Minnesota or is private sector like Central Soda and some of them doing some of these things anyway? And me and Commissioner Spreezing said, they're doing it, but it comes with, we can do this for you. They're not given the the advice out that you don't have to do it. We can spray for $8, $9, $10 an acre because this is what you need to do. They're not doing the advice that is free and more to the client than it is, you know. I mean, you got the co-ops and the feed and that, they're out to make a
money.
buck.
Yep.
They're out to make a buck. So that's where we said that. So they're gonna work on it on when they do their budget presentation. I think it's gonna cost them about 55,000. So if they come forward, otherwise, they did ask about if we knew how many calls they're fielding right now and how many visits they've made. And we've actually told them they haven't made any visits because they really don't, you know, the other counties don't want to. And I told them about our meeting with theirs, so it went good. Whether they go about it or not, I don't know. I haven't got a feeling for that. So that was it. And they also said on July or August, when did they, on August 3rd, they're having an ice cream social for their employees. They've moved it to after the board meeting, and they said to tell all the Benton County Commissioners they're welcome. So,
Where's that gonna be
at their government center. So I think they're gonna do it right after the board meeting or something. So that was Bruce Messer had said, make sure you tell the rest of them that they can come.
Good
So I
old
did my
Bruce.
job, and that was all that I had.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I did have one more that I went to. I went to the groundbreaking for the mental health center for central Minnesota, for
Okay.
their expansion.
All right.
So any commissioner concerns?
Not necessarily concerned, just if we could, if the four of us could get together after the meeting and just talk about next Tuesday just for a few minutes with Monty, that'd be great. If we could just get together after the meeting for a few minutes to talk about next Tuesday.
Oh, you mean the luncheon? Sure, of
Yes,
course. Yeah,
just right
yeah.
after the meeting quickly,
Yep,
thank you.
okay.
Alright. Anything else otherwise, committee of the holes, set any new ones?
Well, just really one, Troy would like to invite you to a demonstration of the Sheriff's Department's drones. He'd like to do this after your August 3rd meeting out at the Highway Department, Chris. You'll have drones in the air.
Oh.
Yeah, I think
He sounds surprised.
What day was that?
demonstration.
Tomorrow,
Oh, tomorrow.
no. August 3rd.
It'd be after the next board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the conclusion of this board meeting, travel out there and the sheriff's office will do a demonstration of their drones. So that'd be, I'm sure, very interesting to see how those work. And then Commissioner Johnson mentioned, this isn't a CAL, but it's a possible special meeting. So at a recent meeting of the broadband group of the city of Foley, there was an agreement that our board would look at a resolution. This resolution would essentially bring together all the commitments that the county is willing to make to the city. And this is all about the Foley to St. Cloud fiber. In other words, how much the county is willing to pay for that. The city's participation, their ability to get internet service through it. Also, another concept is the willingness of the county to help support bringing fiber to city facilities in town here, for example, City Hall and wells and parks and so on and so forth. So again, this resolution brings together all these concepts and ideas. And I think it was the consensus of the committee is the city needed this reassurance, of what the county was willing to do in the form of this resolution. Ultimately, there would need to be actual formal agreement, drafted by attorneys and approved by the city council, approved by a county board, sort of set forth the obligations of each party. And I guess time is of the essence to this. The city apparently has a city council meeting also that's Monday or Tuesday of
Tuesday,
next.
August 3rd.
Excuse me?
August 3rd.
Yeah. So I believe the group felt that, the city needed this resolution adopted by the board to increase their comfort level with essentially allowing the county to own this fiber and so on. So,
They would like this done before August 3rd?
well, I think ideally then our board would meet on or before August 3rd in the morning. That's a Monday. And then the council meets that night.
Oh, on August 2nd, then it is.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I believe their meeting is August 3rd,
Oh, it is August 3rd, on Tuesday they meet?
Tuesdays.
Okay,
So I guess we were gonna suggest either, I'm sorry, yeah, it's Monday, August 2nd, or Tuesday, August the 3rd. Let me think here for a second. I'm backing up. Excuse me. Monday, July 26th. Monday, July 26th was, I believe, the date I discussed with Commissioner Kapinski, and I think we talked about that too, excuse me. Monday, July 26th for a special meeting.
Monty, if I could interject. We're here the 27th for the staff appreciation.
You are, that's
Maybe a
right.
better time just before that, as long as we're all here
You're
instead of coming
absolutely
in
right.
on Monday
After that.
or after.
Because it starts at 7 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
so. we
what
should-
starts at 7 in the morning?
Our staff appreciation, right?
No,
I
this
haven't-
is, sorry, the cookout. The cookout's on the
cookout.
27th,
Oh,
starts at
I'm
11.
sorry. I'm sorry.
So I was thinking 9:30 or 10 o'clock and
How much
You-
time?
Were you thinking about the years of service recognition?
Yes,
That's
I
that's
apologize.
before your next board
Board
meeting,
meeting.
yeah,
Yep.
this would be
Right.
a special meeting
Special
for
board
the
meeting.
resolution.
August 3rd, right?
I think the point was to get that resolution hopefully in place to the city so they could chew on that before their August 3rd meeting.
How long will that take, do you think?
Depends on, I could
Half
see.
hour?
That'd be the very
Oh,
most.
probably 10, 15 minutes, right?
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I think one significant issue for the board will need to consider, and that is this concept of extending fiber to city facilities.
Right.
And it is, I believe, the expectation of this city is that the county will provide for that.
Well, I thought we
Yeah.
had the discussion already about bringing in like the school district and, you know, whether they wanted to do it at their expense. I don't think, you know, the county was looking at going past a certain point.
Well, the city is telling us that they had a previous arrangement with a provider, and the city was gonna put in the conduit between here and St. Cloud. The provider was gonna put in the fiber. And it sounds like the deal that was struck was that, okay, provider, you can run the fiber through, but as part of the deal, you're going to run fiber to our city facilities at no cost to the city. So the city essentially wanted the same deal if the county owned the fiber. They said, look, hey, we're gonna get fiber to our city facilities, we still expect to get that. So I know Commissioner Kapinski was developing some cost estimates on what it would take to run fiber to city facilities. It's in the $175,000 range. Apparently there's like 14 sites in the city of Foley where the city wants fiber run to. Again, it's like parks, wells, sewer lift stations, public works building, water tower, city halls. I think there were 14 dots on the map. And that's what again, they said this is a deal we were going to get and we expect to still get this. So,
Okay, so,
I think we should just go ahead and set up a meeting and
yeah,
discuss this.
and I think it's
Jeremy's
gonna be more than a half hour.
here. Yeah,
well, yeah, and it's of course you want Commissioner Kapinski here to give his
Right.
views on these things as well. So those are kind of some of the big things in the resolution that you'll see. I've drafted it for Michelle's review, and I think it, you know, it gives the city the things it's looking for. But the question, of course, is how are you all feel about that?
The question
How
will
do
be
you all feel
about the cost, I would think.
making those commitments, you know? And now we certainly can use our ARPA funds for this purpose.
and the city could use theirs too.
Right.
The city could use
Okay,
theirs
but-
too.
Let's just set a time. Let's just set a time.
So the 27th at
27th, 9 AM.
9:30?
Nine,
Perfect.
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock, that way.
9 o'clock on the
So,
27th, sure.
do you wanna list this as a special board meeting so
It
we
is-
can,
It is a special board meeting, that's right. It is a special meeting. We'll have to post that with 3-day notice.
And then do we have to, have, when we do the cookout too, being we're all there?
We can add that to it. Let's add that one, the cookout, the luncheon as a committee of the whole too.
Yep, that way we don't have issues.
okay, yeah, okay.
And that starts at 11 AM, right? In our old public works
Because of-
building.
If, you know, Commissioner Kapinski or whoever's gonna be in charge is gonna have to be there a little bit before 11.
Sure. Yep.
So 9 will probably work pretty good.
So, you know, we'll get that resolution out to you in advance. You can think about it, take a look at that, I have it drafted. Anything I missed about that, add?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
That's it. Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to
Set the
accept
cows?
committee of the whole, yeah, the cow.
Second.
Motion been made and set the cows, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, adjourned.
All right, let's.
Now, on the